Come here. Get off.
Hey y'all.
We so janky.
Hey y'all. Welcome to this week's episode of Turn On. Eric and Killa, we here. Today we are gonna read Masquerade by the good sis and Shade. So sit back, relax, get your wine, your weed. I smoked before this. That's why I feel this way.
Revelations.
Okay. Get your wine, your weed, and whatever you need to enjoy.
Oh, Lord. Masquerade by Shade. Tell me what you would like to do now. You mentioned there were rooms we could watch from. She wasn't ready to be the center of attention. Yes? Dinah gave her an encouraging smile, took her hand, and led her to a hidden panel in the wall beside the doorway to Helene's indoor garden. As they made their way down a corridor softly lit by candle sconces rather than electric lights, Helene noticed they passed curtained alcoves along the way. From what she could tell, there were only 6 of them, and all but one had the curtains closed. Celine assumed that meant they were occupied. She followed Dinah into the last alcove. It had 2 wide, cushioned chairs that faced a window looking out into one of the garden alcoves she'd briefly seen at Helene's last party. On the other side of the window were 2 nude women lounging on a blanket, surrounded by large throw pillows, feeding each other fruit in a seductive manner. Both women were attractive with lush, curvaceous figures that would make the goddess Venus burn with envy. One had a smooth, dark brown complexion, and the other was just a shade lighter than Celine. She found herself comparing the contrast to her and Dinah, and her body flushed with pleasure. "Can they see us as well?" Celine whispered. "No, it's a one-way mirror. We can see them, but all they see is their own image as long as there's no light shining from our side." "Oh, so the curtain isn't just for privacy, it keeps light from showing through." Dinah nodded. "Exactly. Here, sit." She pointed toward the chairs. They sat, and Celine watched in fascination as the darker woman took a bite of her strawberry, then gently rubbed the uneaten half of the fruit over each of her lover's nipples until they were as red and looked as juicy as the remainder of the berry she was then fed. The woman who had spread the berry juice on her nipples took one into her mouth, and Celine's mouth watered when the woman whose nipples were being devoured gasped and arched her back passionately. "Do they know someone's watching?" Celine asked, finding it difficult to tear her eyes away from the erotic scene playing out in front of her. "If they notice the light behind the mirror disappear when we close the curtain, they probably do. These alcoves, on both sides of the mirror, were specially created for voyeurs and exhibitionists. So they enjoy being watched? It's part of the pleasure." As the women's kisses and caresses became more intimate, Celine's mind was thrown back to the night Paul brought 2 women home for her entertainment, which had her thinking about the one who sensually haunted her dreams at night, the one who might very well have been Philly. Her mind began to play tricks on her, and the image beyond the mirror turned into something that both shocked and sent a thrill of pleasure through her most intimate area. The 2 strangers blurred into images of Dinah and Philly. Her past and present shimmered in a vision before her, and she felt like Alice peering into the scandalous looking glass. Celine became aroused, and a need like she'd never felt before made her body tremble. She turned toward Dinah to see if she was just as affected by the women as she was. She saw Dinah's eyes darken with arousal, but it was directed at her and not the other women. Celine leaned over the arms of the chairs toward Dinah, who met her halfway for a heated kiss. Come here, Dinah said, her voice husky with passion. Celine took one last look through the window and saw that the shimmering image of Dinah and Philly had turned back to the strangers on the other side of the glass. They were in a position that allowed them to feast on each other's sexes hungrily, and Celine's drawers became wet with arousal. She turned back, straddled Dinah's lap, and leaned in to cover her lips with her own. Dinah's hands settled on Celine's hips as they devoured each other's lips. Their kiss continued even as Dinah slid her hands up around Celine's waist and began unbuttoning her blouse. Once Dinah's task was accomplished, she slid Celine's blouse and brassiere straps down her shoulders and arms until Celine's breasts were free of their constraints. Celine couldn't stop the cry of pleasure that escaped when Dinah took one of her nipples into her mouth and flicked her tongue back and forth until the nipple stood erect and aching pleasurably as she also massaged her other breast. I don't need strawberries to enjoy the taste of you, Dinah said before she paid equal attention to Celine's other nipple. Celine writhed in Dinah's lap as the sound of faint moans could be heard from the other side of the mirror. Celine turned her head to look behind her and was greeted by the sight of the darker-skinned woman facing the mirror while she was straddled over her lover's face, buried between her thighs. It felt to Celine as if the woman was looking directly at her as she practically ground her sex against her lover's mouth while cupping and massaging her own breasts. Stand up and turn around, Dinah told her. Celine did as she was told, watching the play of ecstasy on the face of the woman they were watching. Celine sighed when Dinah slid her hands up her legs, pushing her skirt up as she did so. When Celine's skirt was gathered around her hips, Dinah eased her back onto her lap so that she was facing the mirror. Dinah reached around and spread Celine's legs, then moved the lacy trim of her drawers aside. When Dinah's fingers slipped past the briefs and two of them delved into her wetness, Celine thought the loud moan that followed surely had not come from her. As Dinah's fingers stroked in and out, she heard the sound repeated. She could no longer deny it was her and didn't care. She closed her eyes and allowed herself to get lost in what Dinah's strong and long fingers were doing to her. Celine relaxed back against Dinah, laid her head back on her shoulder, and thrust her hips toward Dinah's fingers. As Dinah's thumb massaged the nub at the juncture of Celine's thighs, her fingers continued to plunge into her, and she brought her other hand up to tweak her nipples. All of this was Celine's undoing. Her orgasm hit her like a tidal wave. Dinah, Celine called out as her body tightened and shook from the intense pleasure pulsating through her. Celine opened her eyes for just a moment to see the two women lying with their fingers frantically working between each other's thighs as they also cried out from their own orgasms. Celine closed her eyes again and let the aftershock tremors run their course as Dinah gently stroked her to ease her out of her pleasure. With a shuddering sigh, Celine placed her hand over Dinah's wrist to still her. As pleasurable as this has been, I'd rather continue this in the comfort of my bed, Celine said breathlessly. Dinah placed a kiss along her temple. I agree.
Hey! So thanks for that wonderful rendition of Masquerade by Ann Shade. So, quick synopsis. Now I'm going to try doing this. Readers, listeners, just FYI, this is our third time recording this episode.
It is, because we love y'all so much.
First time, we just didn't do it we didn't do it justice. Second time, It was actually pretty fucking good, but I was having technical difficulties. So, third time,
it's a charm.
Second verse, same as the first. The second time, anyway. Okay, so here's a synopsis. So, there's this chick. Her name is Celine. Celine lives in New Orleans with her family. Celine is a lesbian.
Her family does not know that. Her family are good friends with this other dude named Paul's family. Celine and Paul are both queer, and their family's like, y'all need to marry. That's my Creole accent. So, the family is like, y'all need to marry. So they look at each other like, yo, you like men's, I like women's. So let's marry one another and we can live in our little space and enjoy one another. Well, enjoy our lives together but separately. Mm-hmm. And then it'll get the heat off of us. So Celine and Paul married. But when they get married, Celine says to Paul, look, do your thing. Just don't love these hoes. Don't fall for a nigga. Don't love these hoes. Just keep it surface. Paul, like a nigga, because niggas gonna nig. Paul meets this dude, falls in love with him, and they start like relationshiping. Dude's family finds out and ends up killing our homeboy Paul. Mm-hmm. This is all early in the book, so we ain't telling you.
Yeah, this is like the first couple of pages, so we're not spoiling. Yeah.
So Paul gets killed, and it's scandalo. So the whole town. Wait, how do you say scandal in French?
I don't know, bitch. I don't know French.
Scandale. So it's a scandale. So it's a scandale in New Orleans because they're like, yo, like Paul got killed because he was laid up with this man and the man's dad actually killed him. So Paul got killed by this man's dad because he was gay. And now they started looking at both Paul's family as well as Celine and her family because she just happened to be associated with a gay man. They don't know that she's also gay, but whatever. So the family's like, oh, we got to get out of this city. That's you get it. Okay. So I'm still, oh, we got to get out of this city. So they get out of this city and they moved to New York City. New York City in the 1920s. So Harlem Renaissance, young, fly, flashy black people. Yeah. They move up there, Selena and her family. And they move up there, Celine and her family. And Celine's family lives with like Celine has family already up there. One of her family members is Aunt Olivia, who has like this like seamstress
shop. It's like
shop.
A seamstress, yeah.
Seamstressy shop, whatever. So she has a shop and the family moves up there. Celine gets really close with Aunt Olivia. And then there's this other chick, Dinah, who's a lesbian. She lives with her Aunt Jo. She meets Celine and hijinks ensue. ...
Yeah.
Right?
That was great.
It was, also it featured my fantastic accent. Uh-huh. New Orleans.
That's awesome.
Okay. So, I'm gonna literally try to board a flight to New Orleans and be like, ma'am,
bitch,
you're on the no-fly list.
All that shit she was talking.
You're on the no-fly list. Okay, so first, let's start off with something because my first time reading it didn't really register, which is how fucked up. Well, first, I feel bad for not registering, but also we live in a world where this shit is so prevalent and so fucked up that it didn't really register until I went back to take notes on this. So first, the death of Paul, right? That shit fucking sucks. I mean, yes, death sucks. But this is a situation where somebody was killed simply for being who the fuck they are. And I wanted to call attention to that. Why? Because our trans siblings, particularly our Black trans sisters, are getting killed at stupid as fuck rates right now. Because they are simply living and being who the fuck they are. So I just wanted to highlight that, shout it out, moment of silence, note that this shit has been going on since Thoughtin' been Thoughtin'. couldn't think of
Yeah,
anything.
it's nothing new, unfortunately.
But
Queer folks
it's
have
fucked
always
up.
been here. Black queer folks have always been here. And unfortunately, what has gone hand in hand with that is fucking deadly oppression.
Deadly oppression. So, in this situation, Paul was killed by his lover's father. And a lot of times we find that our Black trans sisters are being killed by lovers.
People
I don't
right
wanna
now,
say
lovers,
use the
yeah.
word love, but
Or niggas that they was fucking who don't want nobody to know.
exactly.
Or cops, or so many people.
Yeah. So it's fucked up, and it ain't nothing new. But just because it ain't nothing new, don't mean that it's something right. And this is something that has to be stopped. So, yeah.
And you know, there are organizations out there that we can support to help support our trans siblings. We were talking before. There's an organization that I support regularly. It's a Black Trans Travel Fund, and they specifically take money to help trans women travel safely, because so often violence happens between trying to get from A to Z. And so giving money to works like that, like and also I do a lot of like direct support. So folks who are on Twitter who say that they need money for something, guess who randomly sends people cash apps and PayPals all the time?
I was looking at my cash app,
finding ways to support people.
Yeah,
bitch, all the time.
But I think that's so important. You know, like you going through breast cancer, you see all these organizations, Susan G. Komen, all that, and it's like, just find a Black lady that got breast cancer and give her some money. Yeah. And it's not even me, you know, because I'm like, yo, I'm blessed, but like, I mean, not that blessed, but, you know, like, just, I promise you, there's a million people, gas, you know, getting gas to and from appointments, just little simple shit. And so when you think about like Black trans women, like sometimes their IDs don't match. And so that means they can't travel via airline travel. So then what they doing on a fucking Greyhound or, you know, on a bus. And I mean, I feel like the bus
could put them in more harm.
Yeah, but it's just like, so
bitch, how many listen, we ain't always been non-bus riders. Fuck, I used to take the bus all the time.
I was on that bus, that Chinatown to Chinatown bus.
Listen, that is how we saw each other throughout our 20s.
Yeah, I remember I was on that bitch. I was on one of them. It was, I think it was a spring. It was raining. And we were and I came up to New York, and I was with one of my homegirls. I think we were coming up for that Kappa cruise. No, because we drove for the Kappa. I don't know. We were coming up to New York or something. And we were in that bitch. Cruise. And this dude was driving this fucking bus. It was like a whole, like, it's a bus, like a real bus. This nigga was driving that shit like he was whipping a Honda Civic in the rain on 95. I was like, nope, I can't do this. Like, I cannot do this anymore. So that's when I gave up the Chinatown to Chinatown buses. I still took a good bus, just not that one, just not the $5 bus. But yeah, so I mean, again, we got here because we were talking about direct support.
Yes, seek out mutual aid organizations if you don't necessarily feel comfortable putting money directly in people's hands. Although, again, I think that's probably the best way. But mutual aid orgs do a really good job of making sure that money gets directly in people's hands without a bunch of overhead and everything else. So, yeah. We'll add a couple of things in the show notes for this episode.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So... Sorry, I had to write a note to myself, add 2 show notes. Okay, so Celine, her family, they Creole. And nigga, when I tell you that shit is, well, let me not say, they're Creole and colorist. Like, let me not make it seem like Creole people. Ugh. Yeah, because some of the best things in life came from Creole people. Popeye's chicken.
Beyonce. Oh, that's it.
I don't even think about Beyonce. But I was thinking about Popeyes. Is Popeyes a Creole thing?
I'm not sure that it's Creole. It's a New Orleans thing.
I don't know. But anyway, okay, so
it's good as fuck.
Celine's family is classist and colorist as fuck.
Yeah.
And now that I think about it, like, and this is what happens a lot of times, right? People are so into their like racism, classism, colorism that they like just let all types of fuck boys, fuck folk in their lives just because they aren't what they're so against. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So like Celine's family is colorist as fuck, right? Classist as fuck. So rather than recognizing that they're trying to pawn their daughter off on like a really horrible nigga.
Mm-hmm. Just because that nigga
like
skin and come from a good family.
Come on in. And it's like, no, he's fucking horrid.
Terrible, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I feel like I've seen this so many times in life. I'm trying to think of examples that don't call anyone out in particular.
Well, I mean, I don't know about if I can think of those opportunities, except for, I guess, like maybe every Tyler Perry movie. Like, no, it's the other way around. I don't know. I don't watch those movies. What's the light-skinned nigga is the good nigga?
Well, I think he's gotten out of that. Has he gotten out of that recently?
Has he? I don't know.
I don't know, but old Tyler, like early Tyler Perry movies was like, you light skin, you good. You dark skin, you bad. Because Rick Fox made a whole living off of being a good light skinned Negro. Him and that other man with the carpet braids.
Them fucking, oh God, Shamar Moore.
Witch. And so I don't like talking about wigs because I love wigs I love a good wig, right? But I don't like bad wigs.
Not that.
And honey, this whole like, let's get a wig and make it cornrows. Baby, if you want cornrows, just don't do it. Don't wig it. Just put some paper in paper. Put some extensions in there. You ain't gotta like what?
Yeah,
like, you know,
bad. It's real bad.
What'd you say?
It's real bad.
Real bad. But yeah, so I mean like
yeah.
What?
No, what I was gonna say, I can't think of any direct examples of people doing that, but I can think about like when I first really realized that was a thing. Like, you know, growing up in Cleveland, I mean, most of the black folks are, we all in this, except for there's a certain part across town, a couple of suburbs where it's a different situation. They go to a couple of different private schools. And I didn't really know those people, but I knew that they existed. And then I got to Howard and they were there and everybody else was too. Yeah.
Girl, Howard is classes as fuck.
Yeah.
And first, before we get into this, I love me some Howard University.
Mm-hmm. Don't mean it ain't got a lot of shit that's fucked up about
that don't mean it ain't got issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. I mean, I don't think I saw, maybe there was colors. I mean, like, you know, historically, Howard, I didn't know shit.
If you looked at any of the old pictures, nobody passed the paper bag, or everybody passed the paper bag test. Yeah.
I didn't know what the fucking paper bag test was until I got to Howard. Niggas was like, yeah, Howard, paper bag test. And I was like, oh okay.
Yeah.
So there's that. But yeah, like coming to Howard, and that just shows that people are going to find a way to classify and make some sort of hierarchy no matter what the fucking situation is, right? So you would think at Howard, we're all black. And so there's this like utopia. No, niggas gonna find a way to make themselves better than one another. And yeah, like coming to Howard, I was like, oh, y'all niggas on some other shit, right?
Yeah.
Because my first time
I call that aspiring to whiteness. They trying to climb that hierarchical ladder to be closer to the white man. Yeah.
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 So, because I remember when I first came to Howard, one of the things that I was like just dumbfounded at was just the different types of Black people. Because, yeah, coming from the Midwest, like, we're all generally, like, you know.
Yeah, we don't we don't pronounce stuff right. We
like yeah, like we all, I mean, like there were like a couple kids in my school whose like dads were doctors, right? But like generally we were all the same. Like there wasn't a lot of classism. I mean, if anything, growing up, the big difference among people was like you date white girls, you know, but it wasn't like, but when I got to Howard, I saw that and was like, oh, wow, this is really cool. But then got exposed to classism. And I was like, oh, y'all motherfuckers like.
Wildin'.
All skin folk ain't kin folk.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I had that same experience where I didn't know that there were Black people who lived that way. And I mean, I guess the only real exposure that I'd had to that was like the Cosby Show, right?
Yeah, but
even then, I don't remember it registering in that way.
Yeah, it didn't register that they were
upper middle,
like that it was just like they're another family.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
and so I mean, maybe there was like an episode.
There's a lot of bootstrappy shit in hindsight, but I also don't watch that show anymore. So there's that.
Right. So yeah, but but coming to Howard and then, you know, meeting like my dad went to Howard, my dad's dad went to Howard, my dad's dad went to Howard. And then, bitch, becoming a Delta, being exposed to sororities.
Yes.
I feel like on paper, my current life can look like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like she went to Howard, she became a Delta, worked in government, owns her own business, you know, that kind of shit. And I'm like, girl,
if only you knew. Yeah.
If only you knew.
Yeah, I heard it in my head immediately. That's a little high, but yes.
Okay, I won't even try it again. But yeah, that classist shit is fucked up, and it is just another symptom of white supremacy.
Yeah.
It just got our people by the fucking balls. And yeah, Celine's family was so caught up in that shit that they just let anybody, long as you wasn't those two things, they let anybody fucking in. And in the story, it resulted in a lot of
strife,
pain.
Yeah. And like, even without them knowing, so Celine is light-skinned Creole, Dinah is dark, and without them even knowing that their daughter was queer and what their relationship was, they didn't even want her to be friends with her because she was dark and did not have the clothing and everything else that they thought that she should have to be befitting of being friends with their daughter. Like,
even when these motherfuckers were faced with the same fucking like prejudice,
like y'all all Black in Harlem.
And y'all motherfuckers just got ran out of fucking New Orleans.
Right.
For some bullshit. And y'all like, yeah, but that was different bullshit. We're going to impose our bullshit on these people. Like, niggas.
Right.
Always gonna nig.
If nothing else.
Okay, so when Celine and her family got up to New Orleans, like we said, Celine's Aunt Olivia has this is a seamstress, and she has this shop. Dinah comes to the shop, and this is where Celine kind of gets introduced to the idea of like these balls, these masquerade balls, which were spaces for queer people to come and live open, like be themselves, live openly without the gaze of straight folks that's trying to kill them and be, you know, be just dicks.
Generally terrible and violent.
Yes. And this was based back in the 1920s in Harlem Renaissance. In the Harlem Renaissance, which I remember learning about that as a kid. And like in my mind, Harlem Renaissance was like, you know, Billie Holiday, the dude on the piano with the hair.
Duke Ellington?
What is
I don't know who you're talking about. You're talking about Duke Ellington. I don't know who you're talking about.
I see him on the anyway. So Billie Holiday, Duke Ellington, like all these people that we learned about in the Harlem Renaissance as kids. Because with me, it was like in like junior high school, Harlem Renaissance. These people are amazing. This is a time of growth.
And I think of all the writers and stuff, but that's funny. Yeah.
But bitch, as an adult, like just knowing creative people and creative spaces and all of that, them motherfuckers was queer and high.
Mm-hmm.
Like them motherfuckers stayed on some drugs and stayed fucking each other. Right? it's like looking back.
We should be clear that those two things don't have to go together.
Oh, no. Sorry. I mean it like that.
But we were never taught, at least I definitely wasn't, that so many people who were like integral to the Harlem Renaissance were queer. Like I didn't really start to find that out until the last few years, probably. It absolutely wasn't taught, but nobody ever talked about who was queer back then.
And and it's just like you see it in so much of what they did. Like, so Billie Holiday, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I remember learning about her. And you learn about these people. It's particularly like the Black women. You learn about these Black women and like, oh, they did this in the face of oppression. And they did this and, strange fruit. And it's like, yo, most of the time, these women were already like living in a space where they were like, I had to push. I had to fight all my life, right? They were living in a space where they had to just fight to be themselves and free and love who they want. And so the shit that they get recognized for is the like, ooh, she wrote Strange Fruit. Ooh, she said, fuck the U.S., I'm going to go live. Talking about Josephine Baker. Fuck the U.S., mm-hmm. I'm going to go live in Paris and have all these kids and like all these amazing things. But it's like, at least for me, I see that stuff being birthed in the fact that they were people living lives that weren't mainstream. And so their fight, the fact that they have all this grit and this determination and all this to do all this extra shit came out of the fact that like, nigga, that's who I am. Like, I gotta fight to love the person, like to even like the person that I want to like. So it's only right that I'm again, this is one of those things where I believe like we ain't all free until we all free.
Till we all free.
And they're fighting for their normal shit, and they just happen to bring us straight niggas along with them.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
I mean, at every fucking step of the way, that's been the case, even in modern movements where queer, especially queer Black women and non-binary folks are at the front of that shit, dragging our asses along, even as we impede fucking process and try to stab them in the back along the way. It's fucked up.
And then when the story is rewritten, that whole queer stuff gets kind of
I'm even like thinking about more contemporary stuff like Bayard Rustin and like all of this shit where what? Never even heard his name when I was a kid, let alone that nigga was queer and that he orchestrated everything about the March on Washington for jobs. Like
everything. Yeah. So, it's just interesting to think about Harlem Renaissance and how I grew up being taught and thinking that it was a very binary space. And, you have these light little damsels and they're doing X, Y, and Z. And it's like, no, these were some badass bitches fucking shit up. Speaking of bad bitches fucking shit up, have you watched Harder They Fall?
Yes, I did.
We
too. Watched it this weekend.
I'm so proud of myself.
I'm proud of you too.
I'm so proud of because okay, we're recording this when it just came out, and that's a lot for me to say I watched a movie.
I've got some issues with that movie. One of them actually
I liked
falls
it.
into something we were just talking about. So yeah, go ahead.
Exactly. I was just going there. So okay, so I thought about it, and I haven't done much, like, because I'm one of those people, if I watch a historical movie, and I'm going to, like, go on a Wikipedia search and Google search about who this person is and yada, yada, yada. So I'm thinking about the female characters in the book, in the movie, particularly Stagecoach Mary. Nigga.
Yeah.
She did not look like Zazie Beetz.
No.
Right?
No.
At all. But for the purposes of this movie, they're like, you know what? We're just gonna cast a cute little light-skinned girl with some curly hair that's super thin and hikes her titties up, you know.
Remind me to tell you something about that I can't talk about on the air after after we record. Yeah. And so when
wrote it on my hand.
When they started
but
publicizing who was in the movie, there was backlash pretty immediately on Twitter about the casting of Stagecoach Mary, because Stagecoach Mary, also known as Black Mary, she was an older woman they did a lot of fudging with the timelines, and I know this because I did let's just say I had to do some research around these characters. And she was dark skinned, she was thick, she was fat. Older. Yep. Yeah. She was fat. Yeah. She looked nothing like Zazie Beetz. And it bothered me that they like, there are so many like fat Black women, dark skinned Black women that they could have cast in this role who would have fucking killed it. But then once I got into the chick
movie, from whatchamacallit?
Danielle Brooks would have been everything in this movie. Who are you thinking of?
Journey Smollett's sister from.
Oh, yes. Yeah. She would have also been she would have been perfect. You're right. Yeah, she would have been great too.
Perfect, right?
Yeah. She's awesome. But so I was already bothered by that, and then we started watching it. It was burning my partner up. He was so angry. He kept talking about it, like we kept having to pause the movie. But then I didn't know she was the love interest until like the main, whatever, until we got into the movie. And then when you see the ways that other people's lives are put in peril to save a light-skinned woman, the only light-skinned person in the entire movie, whole time, like, by the way.
Bitch, if you ain't just...
Oh, God.
Yeah. So, I liked the movie
it was
lot, right?
Troublesome.
But yeah, that was definitely a part where... Yeah. But I got here because I was thinking about... There were probably tons of queer people then doing, like, fucking shit up. Oh, shit. What was... Cuffy.
Yeah. So Cuffy is based on a real character, a real person, Cathay. And Cathay was she pretended to be a man in order to enlist. She was the only female Buffalo Soldier in history.
Exactly.
They could have,
right?
Yeah.
And so again, queer people out here fucking shit up, but history kind of changes, glosses over that. Or dark-skinned people out here fucking shit up, but then we go and cast a light-skinned person.
And I also, overall, I really liked the movie in general. It was lovely to see so many Black people being on all sides, and like to have Black people be the villains and the heroes, and everybody was really
Black
great.
Not be a thing, but just
who you are, and to be accurate in the fact that there were so many Black, cowboys and whatnot. I did not like that they pit the women against each other. I did not like that the so-called evil Black woman was brown skin, at least, and that the one who everybody was trying to save was light skin. That was all problematic for me. And the music was excellent, and I don't even really fuck with Jay-Z, but the music was excellent. And it was directed by a Black British man, and he did a damn good job. It was beautifully shot.
Damn, Jay-Z on your own fuck with him list?
You know how I feel
Okay.
about it's hard for me to move on. And
Kenrya is a fucking Aries to the fucking core. Like to the core, to the core, to the core.
I mean, when I got to the second half of Lemonade, I was like, bitch, what is you doing?
Yeah, no,
and I've been side-eyeing him ever since.
Agree.
You know, I still listen to old Jay-Z,
Yeah.
but I don't even listen to new stuff unless she on it. I'm not a fan anymore. But
yeah, I mean, I fucks with Jay-Z, but it's definitely one of those things. Like, just because you forgave him,
don't mean I did. And then I have issues with the NFL thing. You know, I think he is a capitalist par none or bar none. That's the word. That's the phrase. And I got issues with that. I just like I have issues with him and B for this diamond campaign. Like, who thought it was a good idea to put a blood diamond on a black woman and then told it be like, oh yes, she's the first black what? Nigga, I don't give a fuck about that. That's not the honor that you think it is. So I got issues with a lot of that stuff. And it doesn't mean that I don't love her, but it does mean that I call into question the ways that they sometimes use their wealth. But that also they use their wealth in really wonderful ways for people too, right? So it's not an either or. It's definitely a both and situation. But, you know, that's it.
In general.
Her I love.
Jay-Z ain't on your face. Yeah. Like, you love him, I don't. Okay. So yeah, this book showed beautifully that there were lots of spaces for queer folk. Back in the 1920s, they were finding ways to
make space,
love and be creative and be themselves. What'd you say?
Make space for themselves. Yeah.
So it was great. Okay, so Celine's had her auntie Olivia, right? Dinah, who is Celine's boo thing, she lived with her Aunt Jo. And what was Aunt Jo's lover's name?
I don't remember.
Aunt Jo had a girlfriend, a partner, a lover. And Aunt Jo ran a boarding house, a rooming house or whatever, and everybody just assumed that Aunt Jo and her
partner were just business partners.
Just her, business partners.
It was like their perfect cover. They got to live together and work together, but they were together.
The two old spinsters that never got married. And there was this Netflix movie. There was this movie about these two women, white women, but these two old women, and everybody looked at them like they're just two old ladies that are best friends that live together. And they was like, nah, we fucking. And the movie was just about how, they had been together since the 50s or 60s or some shit like that. And they found that, they were able to live and love in this, have a beautiful relationship, but everybody looked at it as Miss Mary and her friend Miss Rose, and they just two old ladies that can't find men, so they decided to just be together, live together with their cats. And it made me think about how many times we see that in our families, in our communities, and we don't even think much about it. At least growing up, you don't think much about it. And then you get old, you be like, oh, that's why Auntie so-and-so always brought her roommate to Thanksgiving. Right? And
right.
I have family members that are like that. Some I wonder. I wonder if, are you gay or are you just smart and no niggas ain't shit?
That
so
part.
You just decided to live a life without them, right? Is she gay or smart or both? But yeah, and remember when we interviewed Tristan for the end of
season 4
last season, he was talking about, he grew up in Atlanta in the South in the, 70s, and there was, Miss so-and-so and her friend, they just lived together and ain't nobody say nothing. And it makes me wonder, So I've been reading that book, The Prophets, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've been trying to read it for forever because I love it. It's just taking a while because I'm an old lady and I got a lot of shit going on. But in the book, you definitely see the progression of people recognizing that these two men live together. These two men are in a romantic relationship and being like, shit, life's hard. This how they get their joy, then let them have their joy, right? It goes from that to we are embracing Christianity to appease the white devil that runs this plantation. And so as a result of that, we are going to oppress these two people that are minding their fucking business. And I think about that as I think about like the old black ladies or, you know, like the old ladies in the communities. Like, I wonder if a lot of the like, oh girl, this shit ain't right. Y'all ain't supposed, you know, like that came in when there were outside influences versus, you know, folks just being like, that's what they doing. They minding their business.
Yeah. I mean, I think
have fun.
I think that's true. And what episode? Remember we did the book, damn, whose book was that? Was that Fiona's book? Where it was I can't remember. We did a book, either third or fourth season, where African Rain Queen. I feel like I'm making that up, but that's part of the title.
Oh, the Rain Queen.
Yes. And then we were talking about how there are these, you know, there were all these cultures in various parts of Africa that queerness was just the norm. And that so much of that was corrupted once white folks came in and tried to tell us that the ways we were living were wrong. Again, white supremacy rearing this fucking head, fucking shit up.
Ding ding ding.
Yeah.
Okay, so just to round out this conversation. So Celine and Dinah's aunts both were, you know, they were queer women living back in the day. And one of the things that they did that I thought was really special, poignant, important was they sat them down and was like, look, it's great for y'all to love each other, but there are consequences for you living this way, right? And, you know, they had this whole conversation like, folks find out this is what you got to deal with. This is the world that we're living in, yada, yada, yada. And it made me think about like how as parents, we want our kids to be happy, be themselves. Well, at least I do. Most people I know want our kids to be happy, be themselves, and live a happy, full, healthy life, being themselves in this world. But we recognize society. We recognize all this other bullshit. And so then you have to like balance the whole, like, it's like being black, being a black kid. Like, I want you to be a free black kid, but I also need you to recognize that you're black. And there's some really heavy shit that comes with that.
That you got to be safe while also being free.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was essentially what that conversation was, right? They were like, you know, if you're going to pursue a relationship together, here are the things you need to be thinking about. If you want to be free in this way, here are the ways that you can be safe. But also, they really were giving insight into the ways that some folks were living. Like they were saying, you know, such and such may present as a man, but actually, like, that is something that they are doing strictly for the fact that they want to be able to live together as a couple and not bring violence, right? And they had a really real conversation with them. And yeah, you're right. It's like what people call the talk, which honestly has never really rung true with me because I feel like we have a series of talks with our kids from super young about how to navigate racism. But it did kind of smack of that. I think the best part of it for me was that it was this conversation of generations. Like, we don't very often get to see queer elders in books, on screen, anything like that. And so the fact that they had that access and that we got to see that in a book was pretty fucking dope. That they had someone, you know, folks who they could go to who could guide them.
Yeah. And one of the things that I think it was Aunt Olivia said this to Celine. It was the first time that they had it wasn't the first time they had sex. So Olivia and I'm sorry, Celine and Dinah had just like had sex. Next morning, Olivia comes down and you can tell she's still happy for what had happened, but at the same time was kind of like bashful, ashamed, or whatever. And Aunt Olivia pulled her aside and was like, "Look, girl, don't be ashamed about what you did. Don't be ashamed of like grabbing pleasure by the horns and embracing it. Like, if there's any place you need to be happy and strut and cock around and puff your chest out, you can do it here. But don't ever be afraid of like embracing your pleasure." And I thought that was very important, especially from one queer person to an older queer person to a younger queer person. Because I think that happens just in life, period. Like, you know, like something feel too good, so then we think it's supposed to be bad. But to hear that from an elder to a young person also made it just that much more
and that feels like another vestige of religion, right? And I mean, obviously I say this as a Christian, but like, fuck, if it feels too good, it must be wrong. That is awful.
Yeah. Just to go back real quick about the talk, when you said that, it definitely made me think about how like there has been a lot of conversation recently about the talk. And I think posing it as a one-time talk makes it seem too easy for white folks, you know? Like, it ain't ever just a one-time talk. Like, this shit is steeped. My kid is steeped in the fact that they're Black. Like, this is something that they're faced with every single day. And to me, that's what makes it even worse than it just being a talk.
Absolutely.
You know?
It's a constant thing. I mean, listen, I hear in my head, remember we went to the museum, to the Blacksonian, and my kid was like, more racism.
More racism. Yeah.
And I don't know, was she like 7?
But yeah, that's exactly what it is.
But it's constantly fucking like, coming, and we always having to negotiate it and navigate it, and we have to tell them about it when they're itty bitty before the first time somebody says some racist shit to them, so that they know how to steel themselves against that shit. And it's awful.
Yeah, it's not like our kids are growing up in this bubble of no racism and everything being perfect, and then they get hit in the face one day with us pulling them aside and like, "Hey, you're Black, and this is what's gonna happen." No, it is my kid at fucking 6 years old seeing a cop and being like, "Ooh, there's a cop," you know, or our friends 5-year-old seeing a fucking American flag and saying, "Oh, look, a Donald Trump flag." Right?
Yeah. So I mean, once we were taking a walk, and this was during the beginning of the pandemic, and my kid saw a police officer and like saw cars and freaked out, and we had to like try to navigate down the street without her because she was so anxious just from seeing them, because she ain't dumb and she knows what's going on in this world. And unfortunately, that is the reality that we're in, and it's this balance that we have to walk of like teaching them to be free, as you were saying earlier, and you don't want them to be walking around afraid, but goddamn, like they also have to know what's going on, what they walking into all the time.
Yeah. So to call it just a talk, like one talk, cheapens the whole. To me, it cheapens the whole concept, because it's never just a one talk. It's my kid.
Well, and it also reminds me of the ways that we need to expand the idea of the talk. Like, you know, everybody's always talking about intersectionality. Well, we need to be thinking about that with our kids from really early on, right? So like, what are the other aspects? What are the other things that you need to be talking about your kid about, the isms that they might be coming up against, even before you know whether or not it's something that they are directly going to experience, because you also need to make sure that they're not the ones who are perpetuating that shit, right? So having talks about queerness and like consent, and no matter what your kid's gender identity is or what their sexual orientation is, these are conversations we need to be having with them from young too, so that they're not fucking assholes, and so that they know that they are supported and they have the tools that they need to navigate when they come across those things. Like, all of it is part of bringing little people up, whatever your role is in that.
Yep. Okay. On that note, Killa, do you have anything else for us?
Nah, just one thing.
What?
It's time for what's turning us on.
Oh, shit! What's turning us on? So you did it without the prompt. I love it, bitch. Okay, I can't even snap because my nails too long. All right, y'all. Well, we're gonna take a break and then we'll be back with what's turning us on.
Hey y'all, today's a great day to start your own podcast. Whether you're looking for a new marketing channel, have a message you want to share with the world, or just think it'd be fun to have your own show like us, podcasting is an easy, inexpensive, and fun way to expand your reach online. And Buzzsprout is hands down the easiest and best way to launch, promote, and track your podcast. Your show gets put online and listed in all the major podcast directories like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, literally everything, within minutes of finishing and uploading your recording. We use it here for the turn on, and I can truly attest to the fact that it's pretty fucking dope. Podcasting isn't hard when you have the right partners, and the team at Buzzsprout is passionate about helping you succeed. So join over 100,000 podcasters like us who are already using Buzzsprout to get their message out to the world. Just click the link in our show notes and you'll be able to get your own account set up. And if you sign up for a paid plan, you'll get a $20 Amazon gift card and support our show. Let's create something great together. Sign up for Buzzsprout today.
Okay, y'all, so we back. And Killa, what you got?
All right, so because I forget who was on the show, we asked them what their go-to tool was, and they recommended this. And then I feel like it's like when you buy a car and then you start seeing everybody on the road with your car. I started seeing everybody talk about this little flower situation, and so I was like, okay, let me get one.
You're late because everybody, they've been talking about this.
Yes.
Top of pandemic, but okay, continue.
Oh, well then, yeah, that was real fucking late. Whatever.
You're like, but it's okay.
I had a bunch of other toys that were sustaining me at the top of the pandemic. So you'll see it's shaped like a rose, and it's got a little space in there. And you put your clit right there. Although you could put other parts in there. A nipple would probably, I haven't tried that yet, but fit right on up in there. And it's supposed to be a simultaneous sucking and licking situation. Yes. So usually when I use toys in general, I go straight to like whatever the top steady vibration is. But with this one, no nigga. We had to turn it off and start over.
You're literally going to buzz your clit off. You're literally going to buzz your clit off.
Yeah. So go slow, start low, go slow with this one. It was great. It was incredibly intense to the point where I was kind of running away from it. And yeah, and I was listening with my partner.
You keep it on, because then you're gonna squirt.
Well, I couldn't. I'm also finding, because I can't get my heart rate up too high, and so we're having to kind of rethink, or I'm having to rethink the ways that I show up, like in sex, and so
yeah.
I have to take deep breaths. I have to slow things down. And this is not necessarily conducive to that. But so So we started it just like on some, like he put it down and I was like, oh, nigga, no. So, but then it was good. And then we used it while we were like, so he was, penetrating from behind. And so what I find, it's really good for using while having penetrative sex for me, because the shape of it makes it much easier for me to just hold there than like the other toys that I usually use. And it just need to be in a general vicinity because it's so strong. It does the job, and it gives you some additional backup while you're also doing penetration. And so is how I have been using it, and I really like it. It's a good one. It also, because I've been having to rethink how I have sex because of my disability. It's just so much easier to hold in my hand without like my wrists like hurting and popping and all of this stuff, because I've got like joint pain. So good one to try. We'll put this in the show notes. You got any questions about this, C?
So this made me, you saying that made me think there was this TikTok, and I'm in a hotel room, so I don't mind doing this. There was this TikTok, and it was, give me 2 seconds, I'm so sorry. Okay, so there was this TikTok, and the TikTok was like, this is a cup. This is a bottle of water. And the TikTok says something along the lines of, when you're fucking and somebody else is holding the vibrator, and it was like this.
Yes.
Dog. I was like, is that what y'all gonna have to see this on YouTube to get the real effect? But yeah, I died because I was like, that is exactly it. Like,
yeah.
So yeah. All right. So that's all I got.
This is very easy to hold, at least for me, with all my issues. Yeah. It's a lot.
Hold it yourself, and you're good.
Using some of my other toys. So.
All right. Well, so, that's it. Thank you, guys.
That's what's turning us on. Yeah.
Erica Killer, 2 hoes making a clap. Wow, that was wet.
That's what she said. Bye. This episode was produced by us, Kenrya and Erica, and edited by Ballistic. The theme music is from Brazy. Hit subscribe right now in your favorite podcast app and at youtube.com/The Turn On Podcast so you'll never miss an episode.
Then follow us on Twitter at The Turn On Pod and Instagram at The Turn On Podcast. And you can find links to books, transcripts, guest info, what's turning us on, and other fun stuff at theturnonpodcast.com.
And don't forget to email us at theturnonpodcast@gmail.com with your book recommendations and your pressing sex and related questions.
And you can support the show by leaving us a 5-star review, buying some merch, or becoming a patron of the show. Just head to theturnonpodcast.com to make that happen.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you soon. Holla.